And for a party that has spent the last decade screaming repeal and replace, Republicans seem to have forgotten the whole replace part. We are weeks away from key Obamacare subsidies expiring at the end of the year. That means millions of people are staring down massive premium hikes if Congress does nothing. And that's exactly what they're doing. Nothing. Now, they, of course, claim that we're working on it. Okay, we got a plan. We got a plan. So what did House Republicans unveil behind closed doors? Okay, at their most latest meeting. Well, it wasn't a plan. It wasn't a bill. It was a wish list. Yes, that's right. Mike Johnson walked into a private conference meeting with a slide that had 10 possible policies that they might vote on eventually. Some of the items were so vague that they were to the point of parody. Okay, one of the bullet points I'm going to show you. This is the actual slide. Okay, from Politico. Innovation. That's right. You're seeing that correctly. There's one bullet point that says innovation, as if that is a plan. That's not a healthcare plan. That is a TED Talk from some of the dumbest, most out-of-touch people imaginable. Okay? And of course, you saw this wish list does not include that actually extending the expiring tax credits. No, of course, who can't do that? Doing the very thing that would have hurt this entire crisis? No! Let's not do that. We can't do that.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Inside that room, of course, it devolved exactly how you'd expect it to. Vulnerable Republicans like Jen Kiggins from Virginia stood up and pretty much begged leadership, please don't do this, okay? Do not blow us up politically by letting the subsidies expire. You have one job. One job. Do it. And they're like, no. Look, it's not like Jen Kiggins is like a fantastic lawmaker, okay? No, they know exactly what's coming if they do not act. Their own constituents, if they get hammered with higher premiums, they're going to get, these Republicans are going to get hammered at the ballot box. That's what's going to happen. One Republican in the room admitted that there was, quote, a general uneasiness because nothing is coming together. Another one had complained, we wasted so much time with just 7 session days left in the year to do something about this. You cannot come up with a plan in 7 days. I'm just saying. They have no plan. The best they got is a slide with a bullet point of innovation. Oh. Now, that said, you have the members of the hard right, of course, lining up at microphones to say that they don't even want to extend the subsidies at all unless they can get abortion restrictions. Of course. So you have one faction here panicking about losing their seats if people's health care ends up getting wrecked, and another faction that is perfectly willing to wreck health care if they can, be able to control people's bodies at the same time. What GOP leadership is tentatively planning is to maybe vote next week on some small stuff, expanding HSAs and funding a program that slightly could reduce out-of-pocket costs for some ACA enrollees. That's it. There's no extension of the tax credits are about to go away, no actual fixes. In fact, Mike Johnson even floated the idea that they could just keep working on it into the first half of next year. Pretty much right before the midterms. So if you're one of the millions of people whose premiums end up exploding in January, don't worry. Republicans, they'll eventually get around to doing something about it, maybe. Now, that's just in the House of Representatives. Over in the Senate, it's actually worse. Okay, Republicans are somehow managing to try to make healthcare worse. Their big alternative to the ACA tax credits is a bill from Mike Crapo and Bill Cassidy. Here's what that does. It lets the Enhanced Affordable Care Act tax credits die. Okay, so they're killing it on purpose. And then starting in 2026, they will offer people up to $1,500 a year in a tax-advantaged health savings account. Oh, wow, $1,500, man. Oh, wow, big spender right there. No, you know what that'll pay for? A literal bag of saline and some ibuprofen. That's it. I'm not exaggerating on that. You all remember the $1,000 bag of saline, okay? And by the way, it gets worse. Because for one, you only qualify for that $1,500 if you're in a high deductible bronze or catastrophic plan on the ACA. Second, none of that $1,500 could actually be used to pay your premiums. It is only for out-of-pocket costs. So let's look at the numbers here. In 2026, the average deductible for a bronze plan is projected to be about $7,500. For a catastrophic plan, the cost is also catastrophic, over $10,000. So Republicans basically want to rip away the subsidies that keep your premiums in check, okay? Then shove you into the crappiest high deductible plans and then toss you $1,500 so that you can use it to climb a $7,000 to $10,000 wall to get care. That is not a solution. That is a disaster. Oh my God. That's terrible. Like, health policy experts are already warning that under this Republican plan, premiums would more than double next year. Double. And while some healthier, higher income people might do okay, likely because they'll drop their plans, or maybe use the HSA-backed high deductible plans that they're not going to use, sicker people and low income people, they get crushed. Again, that's a Republican plan, is if you get sick, die quickly. You're either going to end up paying a huge premium that you cannot afford, or you get stuck with a deductible that you can't meet. Either way, you are SOL, folks. And advocates are not mincing words about this. One called this a quote-unquote utter joke that would set healthcare progress back decades and leave Americans, quote, high and dry without the care and coverage they deserve. Another pointed out that Republicans are literally forcing people off the plans that they like. Wait, I thought if you liked your plan, you can keep your plan. And onto junk plans that leave them one medical emergency away from bankruptcy, total financial collapse. And when Trump was asked if he supports the Crapo Cassidy plan, his response was, I like the concepts of a plan. You know what that means? He never read it. Look, the concept is you pay more, you get less, and insurers and wealthy people end up getting new tax cuts, which is the entire Republican economic philosophy condensed into a single bill. It's funny how every single Republican policy ends up cutting taxes for rich people somehow. Oh, weird. Now, Democrats in the Senate, meanwhile, they're pushing for a clean 3-year extension of the enhanced ACA subsidies. Now, I don't think that's enough. Personally, I believe that Democrats should start pushing for Medicare for all. The time is right. According to polling from July of this year, nearly 6 in 10 Americans now support a single-payer healthcare system, while only 27% of those polled say that they do not support the idea. So here you've got quite a majority, 59%. Not only that, but you had a Gallup poll from December of last year finding that 62% of Americans believe the federal government should ensure everyone in the country has health care, with only 36% who disagree. So yeah, that's my idea, Medicare for all. Going more moderate is not going to get Republicans to sign on to your bill, okay? They're never going to sign on for anything that actually helps regular people. These tax credits, by the way, they are part of the moderate centrist plan. And Republicans are still expected to vote those down. And if that happens, ouch. If Republicans let the ACA tax credits lapse, a couple that's making $44,000 a year, just barely above the poverty line, would see their monthly premium go from $85 to $253. An annual increase of just over $2,000. Now ask yourself, how many people living on $44,000 a year have a spare $2,000 lying around to pay for higher health insurance premiums. How many of them voted Republicans, by the way, because they were afraid of socialism? I want to know that one too. But here's the kicker. With the Senate careening towards a vote, Politico reports that Mike Johnson in the House is, quote unquote, still trying to figure out his healthcare proposal, meaning he doesn't have one. The stated goal is to have something to vote on before the end of next week, even if there's no time for the Senate to pass it before the subsidies expire. What they're trying to do is not solve the problem. They are trying to produce a talking point before this bomb goes off, before everyone falls off the cliff, okay? At the end of the day, this is what Republican governance looks like in action. Endless slogans about freedom and choice, endless promises to do better than the ACA, and when the clock runs out on the subsidies, you end up getting chaos in the House, a junk plan in the Senate, and working people holding the bag. If you're an older voter that's on the exchanges, or if you're a working class Trump voter in a red state who maybe finally got some decent coverage from the ACA, this is not an abstract policy debate. This is your premiums, your prescriptions, your health care, your ability to see a doctor without maybe going into debt. I mean, Republicans, they have had unified control of the government all year under Donald Trump. And by the way, he started his first term that way too. And yet, in all that time, and in the time in between, never produced a real replacement plan for the ACA. It's still always 2 weeks away. Concepts of a plan. So remember that the next time you hear a Republican on TV or Donald Trump complain about the cost of healthcare, or pretend that they're defending or protecting working families. Because when they have a chance to keep your premiums from doubling, they chose chaos, delay, and a scam dressed up as freedom. If this video helped you cut through the BS and see what is really happening, then smash that like button. Every single like pushes back against the right-wing propaganda machine. I can't do this work without your support. So please check out my Patreon. Link is in the description of this video. For a few bucks a month, you can help keep this channel independent from corporate BS. So hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's keep fighting for democracy and against fascism together.